Hi everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo, where I've reached 2,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. And I also received a copyright strike. Yes, I did post a short about the copyright strike recently. You know that from time to time I do play needle drops. And I'll get a copyright claim on some of these needle drops, which just means that I'm not going to get any revenue from advertising in that video. It's going to go to the artist, but my channel's not monetized anyway, so I'm not getting any revenue at all anyway. But this was not a copyright strike because of music I played. It's a copyright strike because I showed an album cover. Yes, that's what we do, right? We show album covers. We talk about the record like what I am going to do here in this video, and we show the album cover, and that resulted in a copyright strike. So the entire video was taken down by YouTube. I made an attempt to contact the artist that filed the claim, and it was quickly revealed to me that this artist was, I don't want to say non-communicative because they did communicate with me. It was just in a very narcissistic manner, in my opinion. And I was getting nowhere. So I'm still working through this because the album cover, and I'll talk about perhaps with more detail at a later time, but the album cover in question is a photograph that was taken. It was a photograph that first appeared in a newspaper. So if anybody owns the copyright to that image, even though the musical artist altered that photograph, and I'm no expert in copyright law, but if you altered a original work and then try to pass it off as your own, that's a copyright infringement. You're not creating something new. And anyway, that's what this artist did, is they took this photograph from a newspaper, and it's a photograph that shows the musical artist at a demonstration. And they altered the photograph. But like I say, unless the newspaper or the photographer, it could have been a freelance photographer because it was published in a newspaper. But unless that photographer sold all rights to the musical artist for that photo, then either the photographer or the newspaper still retains the copyright to that photo. I'm already going into probably too much detail, but I'm trying to communicate with the newspaper to find out, who owns the copyright to this photo? And did you know this musical artist had altered that photo so that they could use it as an album cover? And I'm waiting to hear back from that. And I do think YouTube overreacted by taking down the entire video rather than cutting the part where I am talking about this particular release in the musical artist. And so we'll see. Like I say, the musical artist has indicated in their response to me that they are perhaps litigious. And reading YouTube's process for challenging a copyright strike, they warn you that this could lead to legal proceedings. So I'm being as careful as I can because I can't afford a copyright lawyer. If this musical artist decides to take me to court, I don't have the money to represent me. And I'm not sure the artist has a lot of money, but just they probably have enough to at least file something, maybe. I don't know. I'll keep you posted on this. But it's important, I think, that y'all know about this because that's what we do. We show records. When we talk about records, we show them. And if a musical artist or a creator can get a copyright strike levied against us because we held up the album cover as we're talking about it, and in no way are we saying that we created this art, that we own this art. We're talking about this art. All right? It seems to me that ought to fall under fair use. It's a very dangerous precedent. I also think it's quite capricious because I think this musical artist has not responded similarly in every instance that their album was shown on a YouTube channel. Or for that matter, the ubiquity of this album cover and its images being used in Discogs, in Wikipedia, so many places that it would show up that are, in some cases, situations platforms that generate income. So I don't know what's going on. Sorry for that lengthy introduction, but that's what's going on with the copyrights right. Let's talk about music. And this is a recent finds video. And normally I would go through all the records, that I purchased in the recent finds. I'm only going to talk about one, however, in this video, and then a few other albums that I listened to after it. And this would have been on a subsequent listen. The first time I listened to it, I was listening to all the records that I bought. But the other night, I pulled this out and was listening to it. And it's this album here, which is, you can see it's kind of got some, embossed lettering on there for the title. This is Yousuke Yukimatsu, and the album is Midnight is Comin. I know nothing or knew nothing about Yousuke Yukimatsu. And I saw this record, and I don't know, just the album cover kind of intrigued me. And it was, in, I believe it was Gramophone Records in Chicago where I saw it. And they have, listening stations. And I listened to a couple short, brief spots, and I kind of liked what I was hearing. I did some, took my phone out and did a little quick search for Yousuke Yukimatsu and found a video that was actually part of this really big video that he produced at the Boiler Room, or the Boiler Room set or whatever. And so I kind of thought, okay, from this, that this is some techno music, okay? When I got it home and listened to it, I was really quite surprised because it's not really techno music. This is dark ambient music. So it took me by surprise. But as I listened to it that first time, and then I listened to it again later, and then this other night I started listening to it, I was really, really enjoying it. There are tracks here from other musical artists that Yukimatsu then does remixes of these pieces or these tracks. And they're by people like DJ Nobu, Ryu Murakami, Albino Sound, Connie, Gaber Modus Operandi. You know, these are some of the musical artists on this double album set. And as I said, it just really, really struck me the other night as I was listening to it, how really cool. That's really the best word for me to describe it. And just how cool this record is. And it got me thinking about, okay, you know, sometimes how you listen to one record and then it sets you off on a musical journey. And this one set me off on a musical journey. So after I finished this one, which by the way was released in 2022, I think it was released, or my copy is 2022. It on Midnight Shift Records out of Singapore. And yeah, he's got an interesting background. He started off in construction, but then he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And apparently, I believe he was given a very short time to live. So after he went through the tumor was, I guess, removed. So, you know, there was some brain surgery and he went through some chemotherapy. And then he never went back to construction. He went into DJing. And he's become this legend, I guess, in East Asia in particular. And so he's been doing it ever since. And as far as I know, he's in remission. And it's just really amazing. This particular recording, amazing, ambient, dark, but very melodic and very hypnotic and very soothing, and it's just deliciously warm music. And what I wanted to listen to next, it set me on a journey of listening to similar but also kind of progressing as I was listening. What this led me down in terms of a musical rabbit hole, what I wanted to listen to next was this recording here. This is Insen, a collaboration of Alvo Noto and Ryuichi Sakamoto. Alvo Noto is a pseudonym for Carsten Nicolai. This was originally released in 2005. My copy is a 2022 remaster. And it is, or was, the right thing to play after the Yukimatsu. Because it just smoothly you go into this. And this is an absolutely amazing recording because you've got the very almost plaintive, but beautiful piano chords, very simple, but just wonderfully sounding piano chords being played by Ryuichi Sakamoto. And then this other electronic things that Alvo Noto has going on. At first, when I listened to this, when I bought it a couple years ago, I thought they were flaws in the vinyl, but then I realized, no, they're not. He's adding some of these electronic sounds are very much like static or some kind of electronic zip kind of thing. But they're not flaws in the record. They're intentionally and rhythmically introduced into the music. It's just really quite amazing. Then the next thing I wanted to listen to was this. Boards of Canada, Music Has the Right to Children. This was originally a 1998 release. My copy is a reissue from 2013. So Boards of Canada is a Scottish duo of the brothers Michael Sanderson, and it's Marcus Aon or Ein, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But yes, this was, again, the right transition. I was getting a little more it was like I was gradually introducing more melody into the items that I was listening to, starting from the sparseness of the Yukimatsu to the continuing sparseness, but a little bit more going on with the Ryuichi Sakamoto and Alvo Noto. And then now we're bringing in more melodic compositions and slightly denser compositions with Boards of Canada. Really enjoyed listening to that again. And then I thought, all right, I want to listen to something in the avant-garde. And also that's kind of like jazz fusion, because what it made me think of was this recording here. This is where I wanted to go next, and I did. This is Burnt Weenie Sandwich, Mothers of Invention, from 1970. This is an OG on the Bazaar label. This is just such a fantastic album. It opens and closes with these covers, these doo-wop covers. And then in between are these amazing jazz fusion avant-garde compositions of Zappa's that are, they are absolutely, they're brilliant. They're stunning. They're innovative. They're captivating. They're adventurous. They're silly. They're just all wonderful. I was thinking about what was the first album I ever bought. In 1970, I was 12 years old, and there was another album that I bought in 1970, and that would have been Black Sabbath's debut. And I, for the life of me, cannot remember if it was this album or the Black Sabbath album was the first album I ever bought. People talk about, oh yes, I remember the first album I ever bought. Hey, that's great. I don't. I really can't tell, from my memory which one I bought first. I mean, I had other albums, but I didn't buy them. So it wasn't like the first time of me getting anything. But anyway, yeah, it remains my favorite album in the Zappa catalog, because it really is such an amazing series of compositions of, I just cannot think of enough superlatives to talk about what's going on with this album. And the concept of calling it Burnt Weenie Sandwich is really great, because it is like a sandwich, with the bread on the outside being the two doo-wop tunes, and then the sandwich in the middle is this avant-garde jazz fusion compositions, neoclassical compositions going on that are just absolutely brilliant. And Burnt Weenie Sandwich was a staple of Zappa's diet when he would be on these binges of recording and producing and working with tapes. He would, come out of his basement studio and then cook a Hebrew brand Frankfurter on the open flame of the gas stove, and then put it in a piece of bread with some mustard, and that was his meal. But yes, so that was that musical journey that I went on for the evening, that began with this new release, new in terms of, new acquisition to my collection from Yousuke Yukimatsu. Really amazing material. And if you are into electronic and ambient music, EDM and techno as well, and deep and dark techno, any of that. And you are unfamiliar with Yousuke Yukimatsu, I would recommend you checking this out, and check out that video of the of that set that he has on YouTube, which again is called the Boiler Room set. Check that out. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you please leave a comment in the down under. I love getting the comments in the down under. I appreciate all the support that people have been giving me, both in terms of the short that I posted about my copyright strike, but also the subscribers who have now tipped me up to 2,000 subscribers. Really appreciate all that support. Thank you so much. Hit the like button on the video, please. It helps with distribution. And subscribe if you want to, but if you are already subscribed, hitting the like button really helps. And you can also find me on Instagram, where I go by the handle of NewsDude76. And then I also have a Facebook page called Calvin Wazoo, where I post these videos as well as other video and article content that I find that's all music related. So again, hey, hope you are having a wonderful life in spite of all that is going on. I appreciate your sticking with me and your support. Thank you all so very much. And remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.